On September 27, 2006, a gunman entered Platte Canyon High School and held 7 girls hostage and shot and killed a beautiful girl named Emily. While being hostage, Emily sent her parents a text message that said, "I love you guys." Fueled by his love for his daughter and her final words, John Michael Keyes created the I Love You Foundation. The terms lockdown and lockout are part of the standard response protocol. You'll see some signs as you walk through here about this procedure. Used by staff and students and are in place today because of our next presenter. This man selflessly took his loss and made it our gain. Because of his hard work and razor-sharp focus on school security, your children are safer. In fact, because of willingness to train schools, all students and staff in our district and many across the country are better equipped if faced with a threat in school. Not only has John Michael done so much for our schools in Colorado, but he has been extremely important to the health of our own family. John Michael is one of the most caring men I know, and he's become a very dear, close friend. Please welcome John Michael.
I'm going to tell you a quick not here story, but I'm going to really focus on the aftermath. How many here are familiar with Bailey, Colorado? Okay. It's more of a concept than a town, right? Well, 2006, my daughter was held hostage by a lone gunman at this school. And until that point in time, I think It Can't Happen Here would have covered the emotions of everyone who was impacted that day. But it's the aftermath that really makes things interesting. After losing Emily, for 3 years, I wrote software. I wrote software for the financial industry. Now that sounds big and important, but if you think about it, the financial industry is what? Bankers, lawyers, credit card companies, collection companies. They really infinitely prefer the financial industry. And I woke up in 2009 and said, what the heck am I doing? And we started looking at this fuzzy thing called school safety and security. And look at me, what could I do about that? But what we did was realize that there was a void. And the void was in the language that the students, the staff, and the first responders use in the midst of any type of crisis. And we saw that some schools still used response levels or codes. And I'm serious, I've heard this. Bart Simpson is in the building is really not an indicator of crisis, nor is it any advice on how to respond. And if there's a bad guy in the building, he already knows it. We aren't fooling him. And so we looked to see if there were common words, common natural language words that could be used. And we found them. We found them in Broomfield, Colorado. We found them in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we took that core and we expanded it. And those 4 words, lock out, lock down, evacuate, and shelter, became the core of the standard response protocol. And we had this foundation, been raising funds for other groups, but we took funds and developed materials, because here's what I learned. You can't just throw money at a problem without an objective. And you gotta have more than an objective, you've gotta have an achievable objective. But you aren't gonna meet that objective without boots on the ground, without an advocate at every school, in every department, in law enforcement. And so we put together materials and began an outreach program to create those advocates and then give the advocates the tools to do it. And those tools are available on our website at no charge to districts, departments, and agencies. For private schools, we have a suggested donation. It's very modest, and as we know, there's a spectrum of affluence amongst the private schools. And so it is indeed a suggested donation. I got a call from a small school in Nebraska, and she said, you know, we really focus our funds on our students. And I said, okay, here's what it'll cost you. Send me a picture of the kids doing a drill. Well, those actions, drilling for those actions, that's become a very important thing. And after Sandy Hook, we looked at them again to make sure we're doing the right thing. And here's what we discovered. The lockdown in a crisis is an extraordinary thing. It is a time barrier, a locked door. And that locked door, we started looking at hundreds of school shootings. And we found only 2 where a locked door was breached. But we found dozens of stories where the locked door was tried and passed. In 2012, the Foundation introduced the standard reunification method, a way to reunify parents and students with accountability, responsibility, and to accommodate for the health needs. We already had written our lesson plan on how to do it. We'll go out and talk about it, and we'll provide materials at no cost on the website. The Douglas County experience has been a very good one. The first district to implement the standard response protocol in 2009 was Jefferson County, and that's when I first met the safety and security director in Douglas County, Dan Clementi. What I learned about Dan is he is reserved, contemplative, and judicious. He was always very polite. He said, we're not doing it yet. 2010, my phone rang, said, all right, we're ready to get started. Can you come down, meet with us? What's it going to cost? I told Dan he'd have some expenses in turning programs around, but the foundation isn't one of them. Douglas County's implemented the reunification method, and I believe you had some experience with it. And I think the thing that we can take out of this is that I don't believe there are any experts in school safety. But I can tell you that I am certainly a student and an advocate. But not all the books have been written. We're still writing some of the rules. I think I'm going to cut back here and say it's, again, a pleasure to be here. I'm going to repeat that quote. It's about peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there's no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart.